Healing After Toxic Friendships, an audiobook by Rooted in Self-Love. Before we begin, I wanted to thank you for being a part of this journey with me. I am building a community of women that are stepping into their power and living to their full potential. There is a lot to look forward to in this journey. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any videos or updates on resources and activities in the community. Chapter 1. When Friendship Turns Poison. Friendship is often painted as a safe harbor, a place of comfort, laughter, and belonging. But sometimes what looks like a sanctuary becomes a cage. Toxic friendships rarely announce themselves loudly at the start. Instead, they creep in quietly like shadows stretching across the light, until one day you realize you no longer feel safe, seen, or whole in the presence of someone you once trusted. The signs are subtle at first. A friend who dismisses your joy with a sly comment. Someone who always seems to need but never to give. A companion whose envy disguises itself as teasing, whose support disappears the moment you need it most. Over time, those red flags grow bolder: manipulation, betrayal, constant negativity that leaves you drained rather than uplifted. What used to feel like closeness begins to feel like a slow erosion of your spirit. Recognizing these patterns is not about judging another person harshly. It's about telling yourself the truth. Too often, we explain away behaviors that wound us. She's just having a hard time. Maybe I'm too sensitive. It will get better. But ignoring the evidence only deepens the damage. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. When a friendship turns poisonous, your body knows before your mind accepts it. You feel the tension in your chest before you meet them. You rehearse conversations in your head, preparing for the criticism or guilt trips you know are coming. The peace that true friendship should bring is replaced by anxiety, exhaustion, or self-doubt. This is the moment of awakening, the sacred pause where you stop denying the truth. Naming toxicity is powerful because it shifts the blame from your shoulders to where it belongs. You cannot heal what you refuse to see. And once you see it, you can no longer pretend it's not there. The courage to admit, "This is harming me," is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of reclaiming your voice, your peace, and your life. Chapter 2. Why we stay too long. If toxic friendships hurt so deeply, why do we hold on? The answer isn't as simple as walking away. Often, what keeps us tied to harmful connections has less to do with the other person and more to do with the stories we tell ourselves about loyalty, love, and belonging. Sometimes we stay because of history. Years of memories make it hard to accept that someone we once laughed with has now become a source of pain. We cling to what was, hoping it will return, even as evidence mounts that the friendship is no longer safe. Nostalgia can become a chain that keeps us in place. Other times, it's fear of being alone, of having no one to call on a hard day, of starting over, and wondering if we'll ever find true friends again. Toxic people know how to exploit that fear. They remind us, directly or indirectly, that no one else will understand us the way they do. And so, we stay, even when their presence costs us our peace. Guilt also plays its part. We tell ourselves that walking away makes us selfish, that a good friend endures, forgives, and sacrifices without limit. But loyalty without boundaries is self-abandonment. When guilt drives the connection, we give more than we have and receive less than we deserve. And then there's codependency, the belief that we are responsible for fixing, saving, or managing the other person's emotions. This is perhaps the hardest hook to break. We convince ourselves that if we just try harder, love better, or endure longer, the friendship will transform. But what actually happens is that we lose ourselves in the process. Understanding these psychological hooks isn't about shaming yourself, it's about compassion. You stayed because you're human. You stayed because you hoped. You stayed because part of you believed you weren't worthy of more. But now you know better, and knowing better gives you the power to choose differently. Staying too long is not failure, it's a lesson, and every lesson is an invitation to rise. Chapter 3: The Cost of Toxic Bonds. Toxic friendships don't just hurt your feelings, they slowly chip away at your very sense of self. The cost isn't always obvious at first. It builds quietly, like water dripping onto stone, until one day you wake up and realize the person in the mirror feels smaller, dimmer, and less alive than before. Emotionally, toxic bonds erode self-esteem. You begin to question your worth, wondering if you're too sensitive, too demanding, or simply not enough. The constant criticism, comparisons, or backhanded remarks lodge themselves in your mind, replaying long after the conversation ends. Instead of turning to your friend for comfort, you find yourself bracing for the next wound. Mentally, the toll is just as heavy. Toxicity breeds anxiety, second-guessing your words, overthinking interactions, replaying conflicts in your head. It can also feed depression, leaving you feeling drained, hopeless, or stuck. What should be a space of ease becomes a cycle of tension that takes up valuable mental real estate. The effects even spill into your physical body. Stress shows up as headaches, stomach aches, fatigue, or disrupted sleep. Your nervous system stays on high alert, preparing for conflict that never truly ends. Over time, this constant state of unease can wear down your health in ways you may not even connect to the friendship. And then there's the spiritual cost. Toxic friendships distort your inner compass, making you doubt your intuition. That quiet inner voice, the one that knows when something isn't right, gets silenced by the louder noise of manipulation or guilt. You drift away from yourself, losing touch with the peace and clarity that come from honoring your truth. The saddest part, toxic bonds often isolate us. They drain so much energy that we withdraw from healthy connections, leaving us lonelier than if we had simply walked away. But here is the truth worth holding on to. What toxicity takes, healing can restore. Once you recognize the cost, you can begin to reclaim your energy, your confidence, and your peace. Awareness is painful, yes, but it is also the first step toward freedom. Chapter 4: Giving yourself permission to walk away. One of the hardest truths to accept is that walking away from a toxic friendship does not make you cruel, heartless, or disloyal. It makes you courageous. Still, many of us wrestle with guilt, shame, or self-blame when considering the end of a friendship. We ask ourselves, am I being selfish? Should I try harder? What if they need me? These questions keep us trapped when the real question should be, what about me? Friendship is meant to be a space of reciprocity, of mutual care, respect, and joy. When it becomes a cycle of taking without giving, wounding without healing, you owe yourself the honesty to admit that something has gone wrong. Permission begins with acknowledging that your peace matters. Protecting your well-being is not selfish. It is sacred. Many of us grew up learning that good people never give up on others. That belief, while noble, becomes dangerous when it demands the sacrifice of your own spirit. You are not called to bleed endlessly just to prove your loyalty. True love, whether in friendship or any relationship, does not ask you to shrink so another can shine. Giving yourself permission to leave is an act of self-respect. It means deciding that your needs, boundaries, and values are just as important as anyone else's. It is declaring, I am worthy of relationships that nourish me, not drain me. Yes, there may be grief. Yes, there may be moments of doubt. But peace comes when you understand that you are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to close the door on what harms you without apology. Walking away doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't erase the good memories. It simply means you've chosen life, health, and growth over cycles of pain. And that is something to be proud of. The truth is simple but often forgotten. You do not need anyone's permission to protect your peace. The only permission you've ever needed is your own. Chapter 5. How to end the friendship with grace and boundaries. Ending a toxic friendship doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it's a quiet decision, other times a necessary confrontation. Either way, the goal is not revenge or cruelty. It's freedom with as much dignity and grace as possible. How you step away matters because it reflects your values, not theirs. For some friendships, the gentlest path is gradual distance. You don't need to announce anything. You simply create space, replying less, declining invitations, prioritizing your energy elsewhere. Over time, the connection fades. This approach works when the toxicity is subtle or when confrontation would only invite more harm. In other cases, direct communication is necessary. If you choose this path, clarity is key. Avoid blame-filled language like you always or you never. Instead, speak from your truth. I feel drained in this friendship, and I need to step back. This relationship no longer feels healthy for me, so I need some distance. Simple, direct, respectful. You are not responsible for how they respond. You are only responsible for honoring your boundaries. Sometimes, hard boundaries are required. If the person refuses to respect your space or continues to manipulate, cutting off all contact may be the healthiest option. Block their number. Unfollow them. Protect your peace without apology. Choosing no contact isn't harsh. It's self-preservation. Grace in endings doesn't mean you deny your hurt. It means you refuse to mirror the same toxicity that wounded you. You choose truth over silence, boundaries over guilt, and peace over endless conflict. Remember, you are not walking away to punish them. You are walking away to protect you. There is power in that shift. The moment you stop negotiating your worth with someone unwilling to value it, you reclaim your life. Ending a toxic friendship with grace is not about how they receive it, it's about how you release it. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They are doors that open toward freedom. Chapter 6. Grieving the loss. Walking away from a toxic friendship can feel like cutting off a part of yourself. Even when the decision is right, the heart doesn't always celebrate. It mourns. This grief can catch you by surprise. You expect relief, yet what rises instead is sadness, emptiness, or even guilt. And that's because ending a friendship, no matter how unhealthy, is still a loss. Friendships are not casual bonds. They shape our identity, hold our secrets, and witness our becoming. Letting one go, even a toxic one, feels like losing a piece of history. You grieve not only the person, but also the memories, the inside jokes, the dreams of what you thought the friendship could be. This grief is complex because it carries contradictions. You may feel sadness and relief at the same time. You may miss them even while knowing they hurt you. You may cry for what was good and rage for what was harmful, all within the same breath. None of these emotions make you weak. They make you human. Grieving a friendship often mirrors the stages of any loss: denial, anger, bargaining, sadness, and acceptance. But unlike death, there's a living reminder that this person still exists, just no longer in your life. that can make the process feel messy. Allow yourself to feel it anyway. Healing requires honoring every layer of emotion without judgment. Practical tools help too. Write a letter you'll never send, releasing words left unspoken. Create rituals of closure, like deleting old conversations or putting away shared photos. Surround yourself with supportive voices that remind you this grief will not last forever. Remember, mourning the end of a toxic friendship doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It simply means you had the courage to value yourself enough to let go. Grief is not a step backward. It is the bridge between ending and beginning again. Chapter 7. Rebuilding your self-esteem. Toxic friendships leave more than memories. They leave scars. After giving so much of yourself and receiving so little in return, it's natural to wonder, was it me? Am I too much? Not enough. This self-doubt lingers long after the friendship ends, chipping away at your confidence. That is why the next step in healing is rebuilding your self-esteem, brick by brick, truth by truth. The first step is to remember, someone else's inability to honor you does not define your worth. Their criticism, envy, or neglect reflected their wounds, not your value. Repeat this until it sinks in. Healing begins when you separate your identity from their treatment of you. Then, reclaim your voice. Start with small practices. Speak kindly to yourself in the mirror. Write down 3 things you love about who you are, or celebrate little victories without waiting for anyone else's approval. These daily affirmations may feel awkward at first, but they slowly retrain your mind to believe in your inherent worth. Another powerful tool is reconnecting with your passions. Toxic friendships often drain energy to the point where your joy fades. Ask yourself, what lights me up? What did I neglect while pouring into that friendship? Whether it's painting, writing, traveling, or simply walking in nature, return to the things that remind you who you are outside of anyone else's shadow. Surround yourself with uplifting voices. Healing is easier when you hear kindness reflected back to you. Seek out people, books, podcasts, or communities that affirm your growth instead of questioning it. Slowly, the narrative shifts from I was broken by that friendship to I am rising stronger because of it. Self-esteem isn't rebuilt overnight. It's a daily practice of choosing yourself, of showing up for the parts of you that were silenced or dismissed. Rebuilding your confidence after loss is not about becoming who you were before. It's about becoming someone even wiser, stronger, and more rooted in love than you ever imagined. Chapter 8. Learning to trust again. After a toxic friendship, trust can feel like a fragile glass, once shattered, impossible to piece back together. You may find yourself doubting not only others, but also your own judgment. How did I not see the signs? How can I be sure it won't happen again? These questions echo in your mind, and while they are born from pain, they also reveal your deepest desire to feel safe in connection once more. The first step is rebuilding trust with yourself. Before you can fully trust others, you must believe that you can listen to and honor your own intuition. That inner voice, the one that whispered discomfort when red flags appeared, was never wrong. It may have been ignored, but it was always there. Learning to pause, check in with your body, and honor your instincts is the foundation of trusting again. Next, understand that not everyone is your past. Toxic friendships leave a filter that makes you suspicious of even the kindest gestures. But healthy connections exist. They look like consistency, mutual respect, and joy that doesn't come at the expense of your peace. Start small, share a little, observe how it's received, and allow trust to build gradually. Boundaries are your allies here. They don't push people away. They teach them how to love you well. When you state your needs clearly and they are respected, your faith in safe relationships grows. If they are ignored, you have your answer and the strength to step back sooner than before. Finally, be patient with yourself. Trust is not a switch you flip back on. It's a muscle you strengthen over time. Celebrate the little risks you take, the new friend you open up to, the moment you say yes to community again, the day you allow yourself to believe in love without fear. Learning to trust again doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means carrying its lessons forward while refusing to let it define your future. You are wiser now, and with wisdom, you are free to choose connections that honor, uplift, and protect your heart. Chapter 9. Redefining Friendship on Your Terms. Healing from Toxic Friendships offers a rare gift, the chance to redefine what friendship truly means for you. After being hurt, you may feel cautious, even skeptical about opening your heart again. But this is the moment to pause, reflect, and decide, what kind of connections do I want to cultivate moving forward? True friendship is not about quantity. It's not about the number of calls, messages, or social outings. It is about quality, the depth of respect, trust, and joy shared between people. It is about showing up consistently, offering support without manipulation, and celebrating one another without envy. It is a space where you can be authentically yourself without fear of judgment or betrayal. Start by defining your values. What matters most to you in a friend? Kindness, loyalty, honesty, empathy, encouragement, laughter? Write these down. Let them guide the way you evaluate current and future relationships. This is your blueprint, a reference point for recognizing connections that nourish versus those that drain. Next, identify your boundaries. Healthy friendships thrive when both people honor limits. Know what you will and will not tolerate and communicate it clearly. Boundaries are not barriers to love. They are invitations to mutual respect and understanding. They create safe space for friendship to flourish. Redefining friendship also means being willing to release outdated expectations. Not every friend will mirror your values perfectly, and that is okay. Choose to invest in those who align with your authentic self and enrich your life rather than deplete it. Finally, embrace intentionality. Seek friends who uplift, challenge, and support you. Nurture the relationships that make you feel seen, heard, and valued. Let go of guilt, obligation, or social pressure. You are now the architect of your social world. Redefining friendship on your terms is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that your peace, joy, and well-being are non-negotiable. And when you live by this standard, you attract connections that reflect the love and integrity you hold within yourself. Chapter 10. Thriving Beyond Toxicity. Healing from toxic friendships is not just about ending connections. It's about reclaiming your life, your peace, and your joy. It's about learning that you are worthy of relationships that lift you up, not weigh you down. By now, you have navigated the subtle red flags, the hooks that kept you, the grief of letting go, and the delicate process of rebuilding trust and self-esteem. Now comes the transformative step, thriving beyond toxicity. Thriving means surrounding yourself with people who reflect your values, honor your boundaries, and encourage your growth. It means choosing your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being over social obligation or guilt. Thriving also means embracing solitude without fear. Alone time is not emptiness. It is freedom. It allows you to listen to your inner voice, nurture your passions, and cultivate joy that is independent of others' approval. The stronger your connection with yourself, the healthier your friendships will be. As you step into this new chapter, remember that thriving is a practice, not a destination. There will still be challenges and moments of doubt, but now you have tools, clarity, and confidence to navigate them. Take a moment now to reflect. What qualities will you prioritize in your friendships moving forward? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your journey and your insights. If this audiobook has inspired you, support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Doing so helps us continue creating content that empowers, uplifts, and guides listeners like you on their paths to self-love and healthy relationships. Your journey beyond toxicity is your declaration. You will no longer settle for anything less than what nourishes your soul. And that is how thriving begins,